Good morning, everybody. My name is Dave Reed. I'm the House Majority Leader. I just want to welcome everybody for joining us this morning. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedule for joining us. Particularly thank the members of the House Education Committee who've worked on the package of bills related to career and technical education in Pennsylvania. Workforce development has been a significant issue in the Commonwealth for the last number of years. I know it's an issue of interest to our caucus, all four caucuses in the General Assembly, as well as the governor. And it's of particular interest in the private sector across the Commonwealth when you look at just not the shortages that exist today with skilled laborers, but particularly the shortages that are projected over the next decade. Especially in the western half of the state, we're looking at projections anywhere between 80 to 100,000 shortage of skilled laborers on the current path that we're headed in today. So we're looking at a comprehensive manner of improving and enhancing our state's efforts related to career and technical education to make sure that we can meet the needs of our young folks, our workers, but also meet the needs of our employers over the next couple years and the next couple decades is absolutely essential to making sure Pennsylvania can be competitive in a 21st century economy. I particularly want to applaud the work of Chairman Hickernell and Chairman Roebuck for their work in a bipartisan fashion to put together the pieces of legislation that will be unveiled today and move through the first step in a legislative process on the House floor later on today. They have worked jointly together in an effort that is very admirable and bodes well for the future, not just these bills, but career and technical education in the future of Pennsylvania. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Chairman of the House Education Committee, Dave Hickernell.
Thank you, Leader Reed. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Shortly after I was appointed chair of the Education Committee in January of 2017, Chairman Jim Roebuck and I met to discuss education issues. We quickly agreed that the committee should continue to focus on career and technical education. We're here today to talk about steps that members of the House of Representatives are taking to expand access to career and technical education for students and adults throughout the Commonwealth. This bipartisan effort began in 2015, long before I came onto this committee, when House Resolution 102 was unanimously adopted by the House of Representatives. This resolution created the Select Subcommittee on Technical Education and Career Readiness. The 8-member Select Committee, co-sponsored by Representative Seth Grove and Representative Pat Harkins, conducted hearings around the state and heard extensive testimony from stakeholders to develop a report containing numerous recommendations on career and technical education. The Select Committee's report included recommendations based on the following main 5 objectives: continue legislative oversight of career and technical education initiatives, address business and industry demands, strengthen education partnerships with business and industry, increase access to career and technical education programs, and confront misperceptions regarding career and technical education. The testimony and data compiled from those hearings formed a bipartisan package of bills that we are here to discuss today. These 9 bills, 5 of which are from Republican members and 4 from Democrat members, were unanimously approved by the House Education Committee on Monday. These bills aim to address workforce shortages, strengthen educational partnerships with business and industry, and increase access to career and technical education programs. Additionally, the goal of these bills is to address the misperceptions that exist about career and technical education by highlighting the benefits of these programs, training opportunities, and earning potential for students. I want to thank all those who worked together in a bipartisan way to advance these 9 bills. I especially want to thank the prime sponsors of the legislation, the staff on both sides of the political aisle who worked diligently on these bills, and the key stakeholder groups who helped us along the way, many of whom are here today and will have an opportunity to offer remarks in a few minutes. At this time, I'd like to introduce my friend and colleague, Chairman Jim Roebuck. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. As the Democratic Chairman of the House Education Committee, I am proud to join my colleagues in announcing tangible reforms to career and technical education programs throughout Pennsylvania. Career and technical programs provide students with a visible pathway to economic independence and entry into the American middle class. Our bipartisan package of legislation will bolster our efforts to ensure that each Pennsylvanian can achieve the career of their dreams without being weighted down with debt. In particular, my two bills will improve the delivery of these programs throughout our Commonwealth, especially to those who need access to them the most. My first bill will require workforce development boards to include administrators from career and technical centers in their memberships. If we are to improve and strengthen our CTE programs, the concerns of CTC administrators must be heard and properly addressed. My second bill will ensure that students are receiving the skills and instruction needed to secure a career in their desired fields. This legislation only builds upon the success of CTE programs. It also gives stakeholders a voice to make necessary changes. I thank Chairman Hickernell and my colleagues for their support of this legislation. I look forward to implementing and the recommendations we receive from the Select Subcommittee on Technical Education and Career Readiness to see that career and technical education programs are more efficient than ever. I certainly welcome the opportunity to help students achieve the goals that they seek and to ensure that the resources we have at state level provide a pathway to that success.
Thank you, Chairman. Our next speaker will be Representative Seth Grove.
Thank you, Chairman. 2 years, countless meetings, countless hearings. We passed a bipartisan report that's now entered into legislative form, and we're moving in a bipartisan fashion, just like the original report, nine great bills. I can say, through 2 years of work, that we have a great career and tech education system in Pennsylvania. We have great K through 12. We have great higher ed. We have a amazing workforce. Unfortunately, through the years, the communication and the barriers have increased. So I think a lot of the 9-bill package is to try to reinvigorate, refocus on a career path where students can be successful with low debt and have family-sustaining jobs in areas that are much needed in the Commonwealth and across the country. I think about my own family. My father was a Vietnam veteran, tin can sailor, engineer on a Navy destroyer, got out of the military and ended up being a tool and die maker at Caterpillar. His goal for his 2 sons was to be successful, and their idea of that generation of success was wear a suit and tie. Where they forgot and missed the boat was his own story of success. You know, my mom didn't work. He was able to have a family-sustaining job. Both of his boys went to college, and we were successful, not through, but it was through his work and his dedication. And you know what? We need to match kids with jobs they love and get them into areas where they can grow and prosper, whether that's a 4-year degree at one of Pennsylvania's great universities and colleges, or it's a trade and tech school. So I appreciate the work the Education Committee has done in a bipartisan method, and look forward to continuing work on rebuilding our career and tech education system. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Pat Harkins.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to be with you. I'm Pat Harkins. I represent the 1st District up in Erie, PA. As chairman of the chairman of the Gaming Oversight Committee, I want to thank both Chairman Hickernell and Roebuck for their bipartisan efforts with leading this charge to improve delivery of career and technical education, excuse me, by advancing this bipartisan package of CTE legislation. I, too, graduated from a technical high school with a background in electricity and electronics, went on to drive a truck for UPS for 25 years, and I tell people I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Traveled the state with Representative Seth Grove in the committee, and it was a real eye-opener to see what's out there and what's available to the public. We have great students, we have great facilities. We just need to sometimes give things a shot in the arm, and I think with this legislation, that's what we're going to do. And I have real optimism for the future and for our state and for our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Mike Tobash is next, and he is the Subcommittee Chairman on Career and Technical Education for the House Education Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank our media partners for being here today. This has got good news today, and the good news is that we're working on connecting our education system with what job creators are looking for. And I just want to applaud the great work that Representative Grove and Harkins did in the last session. They really did work tirelessly, having hearings throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and getting a lot of feedback from both the Education Department, from labor and industry, from stakeholders to find out exactly what we need to do much better in this state to help make that vital connection. I also want to thank Chairman Hickernell and Chairman Roebuck for the commitment. So often there will be a study that is done in Harrisburg in the state of Pennsylvania, and that study will find its way onto a shelf, and then dust will collect on that study, and it won't be acted on. There are 9 bills that we are rolling out right now that bode very well for the future of the economic growth of the state of Pennsylvania. And I want to thank my co-chairman on the committee, Chairman Mullery. We're going to work hard to make sure these bills get across the finish line and that Pennsylvania pays attention to them in our efforts. I can tell you this, that investing in what the market needs to grow is something very important. We're just about 45 days away from another budget, and we have had difficulty passing budgets. And the key to recurring revenue is economic growth. And if we can connect our education system with what job creators are looking for, that economic growth opportunity really exists. Just let me tell you a little bit about the package of bills. They're really inspiring. I think, number one, supporting career and technical educators and making their pathway into the classroom much easier. I know Representative Bloom is with us today, and he's got a bill. We've heard in Pennsylvania that it's difficult not only to get the students we need into these technical education roles, but also to get the educators in the room to transfer the skills that they've got to those students. Number two, accelerating the establishment of new classes and curriculum. Seth Grove has got a bill right now. Just imagine, I was just at an education forum a little while ago on the natural gas industry, and I'm not sure how much you guys know about the aromatic petrochemical derivatives that are available here in the state of Pennsylvania. Well, I'm not, I can tell you. And I think our students are not, to the extent that they need to be to take advantage of some of the cheapest feedstock that we've got in the United States that exists right here in Pennsylvania. Seth Grove has got a bill to fast-track classes for students to take advantage of that. Here's what's disappointing to me. If you go to Southwest Pennsylvania and you see these businesses that are being fostered there, and you see license plates from Texas or other states, we've made a mistake. We need to train our students in the state of Pennsylvania to take advantage of the opportunities that exist right here. We've got other bills, as Chairman Roebuck mentioned, for strengthening and growing the connection between educators and job creators. His bills to try and get the education department together with labor and industry, I think are super important. And I'm honored to have one of the bills in this package that allows businesses to invest in the education system that they are looking for with the skills that they need to grow their businesses. So there's a package of 9 bills. We're excited that they're being fast-tracked. We're excited that we're paying attention to them at one time. And we're excited for the fact that you are spreading the good news. So thank you very much for being here, everyone. And keep up the good work. And please continue spreading this message about the opportunity that we have right here. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Gerald Mullery, he's the Minority Subcommittee Chair on Career and Tech Ed in the House Ed Committee.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, everybody. It has been an absolute pleasure to work with my colleagues in a bipartisan way to help improve the delivery of career and technical education here in Pennsylvania. Last week, I had the opportunity to meet with several small family-run business owners in my district, all of whom stressed to me the importance of technical education for our younger generation. Those meetings were not outliers. That has been the message I've received from business and industry leaders throughout my district and northeastern Pennsylvania for some time now. As members of this select subcommittee, we discovered that in many parts of the state, various CTE stakeholders are engaging in meaningful partnerships to encourage a continuum of career and workforce development opportunities for our students. My bill, House Bill 2204, would enable the Department of Education and the Department of Labor and Industry to conduct an inventory of existing workforce development programs at both the secondary and post-secondary levels, with particular emphasis on opportunities for business education partnerships. The goal would be to share those best practices learned with various entities to help improve the delivery of career-focused opportunities. As a Commonwealth, it is very important that we train students for jobs that will be available in the future, and successful CTE programs do just that. This is something that is on our radar, and it is now on the national radar. Forbes did a lengthy expose, I think in their most recent edition, about how important it is that local, state, and federal entities promote this type of education. I believe it was Monday we had the Jeanette football team here. A few months back, I could be wrong, but I believe the Wall Street Journal did an expose on a Jeanette student, a female senior, who is top of her class, scored excellently on the SAT, has colleges offering her full scholarships academically, and she wants to be a diesel mechanic. Works in her own garage on a vehicle she bought with her own money, volunteers at the local diesel shop in her community, and her teachers and her guidance counselors are telling her how much of a mistake she's making by not going to a four-year school. But to speak about what Representative Grove talked about and what my colleague Mr. Tobash talked about, this is a girl who knows what she wants to do, knows that she's going to enjoy that career path, and we just have to get over the stigma that if you don't go to a four-year college and you don't come out with a piece of paper saying that you have a degree, you are any less of a success than somebody who is trained in a vocation. So I'm happy to be a part of this. This is maybe, I think, the most important thing I'm doing in Harrisburg right now for the future of our young people in the Commonwealth, and I'm blessed to be part of this subcommittee. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Representative. As we all know, that when we advance legislation, we don't do it just within this building with legislators and staff. And that certainly was the case here. We reached out to many, many stakeholder groups, and we're fortunate to have three of those here this morning to offer some brief remarks. Our first presenter will be Jackie Cullen, Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Association of Career and Technical Administrators. Jackie?
Good morning. The Pennsylvania Association of Career and Technical Administrators believe that the state of career and technical education in Pennsylvania is strong and is serving both students and employers well. Our students are well prepared to enter the workforce immediately after high school and to continue their education. They perform well on end-of-program occupational assessments and earn a variety of industry credentials. Many graduate from high school with post-secondary credits earned through articulation agreements with between secondary and post-secondary institutions. There are, however, many challenges facing career and technical centers as they prepare students to support the economic growth of the Commonwealth. Our organization testified before the House Select Committee on Technical Education and Career Readiness about those challenges, and we are thrilled to see that the bipartisan package of bills address many of those challenges. If enacted, students will have access to better CTE and workforce development information so that they can make informed choices. More qualified industry professionals will have an improved pathway to a CTE teaching career. Business and industry will be able to commit resources to career and technical schools through a tax credit program. CTC directors will be better able to work with their workforce development boards by serving on their boards. There will be additional options for business and industry to provide advice to CTE classroom teachers through occupational advisory committees. We believe that this package of bills, combined with the implementation of Act 6, will result in an increased number of students completing high-quality CTE programs. These students will be college and career ready and will play an important role in Pennsylvania's continued economic growth. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Next up is David Namey, President of PSEA's Department of Career and Technical Studies.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, all. My name is David Namey, and I am a electrical teacher from the Wilkes-Barre Area Career and Technical Center. I've been teaching for over 40 years in career and technical education. I'm extremely pleased to be here and even more excited about the package of career and technical education bills that are before us. First, I'd like to commend the bipartisan group of lawmakers that have come together to make career and technical education a priority in Pennsylvania. Pardon me. This package of legislation touches on many areas of career and technical education. Some of those areas include attracting and retaining high-quality occupational tradespeople to become CTE teachers. Another bill is about strengthening the linkages between high-priority businesses and industry and CTE programs to ensure that the instruction is meeting today's industry standards. And also providing an improved communication of career and technical education information to parents, students, guardians, and other CTE stakeholders. While I applaud the efforts of this bipartisan legislation, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the need to increase the vocational state subsidy. I am very enthused about the governor's budget, including such an increase, and it bodes well for career and technical education. Again, thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I look forward to this package becoming law just as quickly as the House Education Committee passed these bills. Thank you.
Thank you, David. We can only hope, right? Our next speaker is Elizabeth Bolden, President and CEO with the Pennsylvania Commission for Community Colleges. Elizabeth?
Thank you, Chairman Hickernell and Chairman Roebuck, and members of the subcommittee. Pennsylvania's community colleges have really appreciated the opportunity to contribute to the subcommittee's work over the past several months, and particularly to join you today to affirm the need for new public policy to improve career and technical education in the Commonwealth. The Georgetown Center on Education and the Workforce has predicted that by 2020, which is less than 2 years from today, 65% of all jobs in the United States will require some post-secondary education and training beyond high school. In addition, the center found that 30 million of these jobs will pay a family-sustaining salary without a bachelor's degree. These jobs are projected to be in the transportation, manufacturing, healthcare, and electric utility industries. The good news for Pennsylvania is that the median salary of these jobs was $56,000 annually, and more than 52% of them paid more than that. This research affirms the need for the legislation that is being discussed today. Individuals who are planning for their future cannot possibly do so if they lack the information about the career choices that are available to them and how they can access the career training and education needed to obtain those jobs. Filling that information gap is so critically important, and why the community colleges are pleased to support the bills in this package. Particularly House Bill 2158, sponsored by Representative Mako, House Bill 2159, sponsored by Representative Statz, and House Bill 2203, sponsored by Representative Harkins, will ensure that current and relevant information about post-secondary and career opportunities are available to students and their families, as well as information about how and where they can access the education and training to secure those opportunities and fulfill their career goals. In addition, House Bill 2156, sponsored by Representative Tobash, will provide the framework for our business and industry partners to support career and technical education programs, including programs at community colleges, to increase the skill level of Pennsylvania's workforce. And finally, House Bill 2204, sponsored by Representative Mullery, will create a resource that education and training providers can access to improve their delivery of education and training to Pennsylvanians. These bills, together with appropriate funding for community colleges, will help Pennsylvania address its skills gap. It will provide individuals with the information they need to access education and training that leads to better jobs, to better incomes, and all of the accompanying individual and societal benefits that flow from increased post-secondary education attainment. I and Pennsylvania's community colleges congratulate the sponsors on their legislation and the subcommittee on their work, and we urge the rest of the General Assembly to swiftly consider these bills. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you to all of our speakers this morning. I guess we're all really excited now to go up to the floor at 11 o'clock and move these bills on second considerations. With that, thank the press for being here, and I think we have most of our, if not all of our prime sponsors here of all 9 bills, so if you have questions on legislation, I'm sure the prime sponsors would be happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Take them down while you're all out there? Sure. Okay. Hi, I'm Steve Essick with the Morning Call. I just have a question. Do any of these bills, I didn't hear them talk about, standardized tests, maybe reducing them as they relate to career and technical students? Does anybody have that?
So in the last session, I co-sponsored a bill with, as many of my colleagues did, with Representative Terza. I think it became Act 6. So it gives the opportunity for students that are entering the career and technical educational pathway to, rather than have the high stakes requirement of the Keystone exams, to pass one of the other industry exams that are specific to career and technical education, like the NOCTI, the NIMS, or there's various other opportunities that they can get to show proficiency to get them into a successful career. So we have addressed that in the last session, and we're looking at other bills actually in this session as well.
Thank you for the
I was just wondering if you could speak to the one thing that's been hanging over vocational technical education. And I know, Jackie, I've been to numerous state board meetings, and you were just pleading for some attention to VOTEC. How does this package of bills address this issue of the stigma that's been hanging over vocational technical education? I'm just wondering if someone could speak specifically to that.
So, let me speak from a parent. I got an 8 and a 5-year-old, second grade kindergarten at Dover Elementary. Dover has a great career and tech education center. They also partner with York VOTEC, so they have their own programs, and they send a good number of kids to the vocational education. The students today, particularly high schools, are ingrading STEM education K through 12. So my kindergartner is getting career and tech education at the local, getting introduced to it. They have after-school programs from building Legos to model rocketry. Actually, Spring Grove and Dover are doing a joint model rocket program. Only schools in the entire Northeast doing that. So the refocus is there. I can't say like these 9 bills are going to fix all the problems tomorrow. It's going to be a partnership, federal, state, local, private sector, to really refocus it. But as a parent, I can say I can see the change moving to that career and technical education. I know the partnerships, the matriculation agreements between high schools, getting class credits at higher ed to move kids down those pathways are helping. We have a bill to do that moving forward. So it is happening at the local level. We're just trying to usher and make it easier to happen.
Is there any public awareness and public education part to this?
So I think locally, I think through the hearings we've had, we heard from local chambers, I know my local chamber, YCEA, they hold Manufacturers Day, where they take high school students out to different manufacturing jobs. Great story, York High students went to Weldon Solutions. There was a student not engaged in education whatsoever. No interest. They had a PowerPoint presentation beforehand, sleeping through it. They put him out on the floor, and Weldon Solution is robotic. So they set up all these cool robots and picked up all these cool. He fell in love with it, ended up doing an internship there, and he found his pathway. The teachers actually said that's the first time he's ever been engaged in he was a junior at the time, in his 3 years in high school. So those pathways and their doorways are opening. Mike did a bill. You want 168? Come talk about it. Yeah.
So, go ahead, yeah.
Go ahead, I'll just
You were
follow
there,
up.
you were at the hearing.
Go ahead, fire away.
So we had a bill passed, Jan, in the last session, right? So it was House Bill, it's Act 168. Here's the first thing that you've heard up here, that the opportunity for student success has to do with success in the marketplace. There's many jobs in the marketplace right now that are skills-based, that pay far higher than jobs that have a 4-year academic, right, educational pathway. So the marketplace is changing at number one, but number two, we have to build awareness. So Act 168 allows educators to go into businesses, particularly manufacturing facilities, and take a look what the career pathways within those businesses are. In Schuylkill County, we had about 750 teachers go into various manufacturing facilities, and the Manufacturers Association did a little video on it, Jan, and I'll get it to you. But the feedback that we got was amazing. Number one, some teachers said, this is 2.5 miles away from my house. I didn't know these jobs existed. Number two, they didn't realize the compensation. They didn't realize the various career pathways and opportunity for advancement that exists within many of these companies. So I think number one, the marketplace is changing it, and number two, the fact that we're building awareness and the good work that you're helping us do is really important.
Just to follow up on Representative Tobash's comments, we see that the awareness is there with the business and industry leaders. I'm seeing it with the students. The students are aware that this is a future that provides a bright avenue and a pathway for them. We've educated a lot of the teachers. So teachers are interacting now with these students and telling them, hey, think about this separate path. We've begun to educate the guidance counselors, which is very important because, again, these are folks who maybe feel the wrath of the parents, where if they bring a kid in and they see that this kid has a capacity to do something great in electronics or in welding or whatever it may be, and they direct that child down that path, then that child goes home and sits down at dinner with mom and dad and says, you know, this is what we're talking about in school. And mom and dad are like, oh no, they've fallen into the Seth's dad's routine, like, you're going to college. That, to me, is the biggest hurdle we have to overcome. It's the parents. I've held multiple hearings in my district with chamber folks, industry folks, people from PDE, to try to get the message out to parents that, you know, this is something that needs to be an option when you're talking with your children about their future. And if we can get the parents on board, I think you're going to see that we're going to be producing members of our society that are earning high wages, that are coming into this with low debt, and the ability to have family-sustaining jobs and grow our industry in our local communities.